This is going to be your guide to using Arbok in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So a quick look at Arbok's stats makes me feel like I spoke too soon, and Arbok is actually challenging Fearow as the worst Pokemon in Let's Go. 60 on the hit points, 69 defense, 79 special defense. Not a lot of survivability going on right there. 95 attack is and then 80 on the speed means it's going to be very vulnerable, outsped by a lot, and then just taking tons of damage. However, Arbok is pretty decent, if not good, in Pokemon Let's Go, and it kind of shows these subtleties, those little differences, the nuance in the stat points, the moveset, and also the typing. By the way, Arbok, pure poison typing, which is pretty solid. Looking at the weaknesses, manageable. We know what the psychic threats are, and pretty much everything's running Earthquake, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going to happen there. Resistances are going to be Fighting, Poison, Bug, Grass, and Fairy, so overall, pretty solid. Hopping into Pokemon Showdown, we can see what Arbok has to use, and its moveset offensively, interesting, but good enough. It gets Earthquake. That automatically just makes it a salvageable Pokemon right there, and the Sucker Punch. So if we go and look at Sucker Punch and Let's Go in general, we can see that Arbok is a pretty decent user of it. 95 on the attack, so definitely not the worst. Packs a little bit of damage behind it, and, you know, decent amount of Pokemon get it, but at least Arbok can make use of that, unlike the Gengar, which wants to be a special attacker, or the Electrode, which really doesn't get anything out of it. So 95 attack, non-stab move, not going to be the most terrifying thing in the game, but it will be something you have to respect, especially as the battle gets longer and longer, and Pokemon just start to take chip damage, and Arbok comes in and has priority. So that's usable. Poison Jab, relatively decent stab option. It's going to be pretty much your primary move, and with the 95 attack, not insane, but we can convert decent amounts of damage with it, and again, no EVs, no abilities, no all this weirdness going on, and the weird thing about Pokemon Let's Go is that Pokemon generally have a lower defense stat, so having a physical Pokemon with access to a decent move like Poison Jab is going to add up. You poison a Pokemon, 30% chance that you just get some goodness right there. Talked about the Earthquake, and then also gets access to the Dragon Tail. Not saying they have to run it, just kind of leaving it out there as an option because people can use it to phase and just throw it out there since you're already going last. Could use it, maybe not. Exploring some of the other options that Arbok has. Crunch. It's more damage on that dark type move. If we can survive a hit and we can use that crunch, might combo into something substantial. Haze eliminates all stat changes. Not tons of Pokemon get access to the Haze, so that's something. And then Glare. 100% chance, or 100% accuracy, paralyzed target as a normal type move, so also has its own like unique spin that it can run, and if you just want a status Pokemon, this could combo, because you slow down your opponent's sweeper, you then outspeed them. If you're a 3-hit KO, you convert the 2-hit KO, you Sucker Punch Pokemon, now Arbok turns into a 1-for-1 plus Pokemon, which is always pretty good. Look at the rest of the moveset, like there's cool things. If it was a special attacker, you could Mega Drain, maybe. Has a Rock Slide, but I don't think that's really going to apply here. So it's mostly just Arbok lives because Sucker Punch is usable, and that is backed up by the damage calculations, so let's go and check those out. So, the Alakazam matchup, yeah, just outspeeds us and one-shots us on Psychic, but that's going to be a pretty substantial Sucker Punch coming through, and Arbok can work with that. So I wanted to show some of the nature options as well, either Adamant Nature, and we're going to check out Careful here in a bit, because that does make things pretty spicy. So we're going to also show like these are the moveset options and how it works and what you can do to customize it to give you the best chance in a lot of different scenarios, because Arbok starts getting really interesting. Jolteon. So Jolteon comes in, thunderbolts us, that's a 2-hit KO, but Earthquake Sucker Punch, that KOs the Jolteon. So we can use our coverage. We just use the power of that Earthquake to do really good stuff. And then, yeah, Sucker Punch, only 30-ish%. Not a threat on its own. But you follow that up after a stab hit from the Poison Jab, or like damage over time, or super effective Earthquake. And now the opponent is actually feeling really bad. Because we take one hit, that's in like 2-ish KO, maybe 3-hit KO, and Arbok's going to be looking pretty good. So it can convert KOs, which is something that Fearow can't really do, and it always has that pressure. If Arbok comes in, throws out 2 Sucker Punches, something, it's doing something, and it can maybe turn the battle or at least score a KO. Similar case with the Gengar. So stab Shadow Ball, that's only going to be 50%, so Arbok's still surviving in a 45%-ish range, which means it might survive the next hit and then keep those conversions going. Earthquake Sucker Punch, that's going to be a KO right there. So Gengar, another Pokemon that can be taken down by the cheese priority of the Arbok. Nidoking. So Nidoking one-shots us on the Earthquake, Sucker Punch comes in, does 20-something%. But here's the thing about Nidoking. it has that interesting bulk. 80s, 80-ish, 70-ish, mids, whatever on the defensive stats means that Nidoking's a pretty solid 3-hit KO Pokemon, so you hit it with like 2 40% hits, and then Arbok can come in, Sucker Punch, it's going to get greedy on the Earthquake. It also pretty much only runs offensive physical moves, so it uses that, and then you can clean it up. So it's like there's enough damage there. Even on some of the bulky-ish Pokemon, you gotta respect it because it can come in and clean up. Also shows the value of Stealth Rocks potentially, or just a longer, more drawn-out battle. If there's a Reflect Up or Nidoking is burned, then that means Arbok also has some options. That Earthquake comes in, and it's alright. You know, we're already fighting that bulk, but Burn, Earthquake, Sucker Punch, Burn, that can maybe trade the Nidoking if it hasn't already taken any other damage. So kind of like looking at Arbok in the scope of the battle, pretty alright. Arbok versus the Fearow. I just wanted to do this for the memes because it was one of those things where I was looking, I was like, oh man, Arbok is already bad. How does it work against Fearow? Well, Poison Jab versus Drill Peck. Like, it just also shows like how weak the Fearow is. Drill Peck is only going to be a 3-hit KO. So that means Poison Jab, Sucker Punch, and Arbok wins that. And it just shows like, yeah, if Arbok is going up against a weaker hitting Pokemon, then it just gets to get multiple combos off, or just like Earthquake, Sucker Punch, take a hit, Poison Jab, Sucker Punch, and it can at least follow up with some damage, which I think is pretty nice. Arcanine into the Arbok. So we explored Arcanine, we showed its lack of damage, and this is why I feel Careful changes things up. Because if we're running a Careful nature, well, this is still, or not even a Careful, but like a non-adamant nature, well, that's still going to be a KO combo against the same Pokemon. If we go into the Gengar, well, Gengar is still going to be a KO. That Adamant nature is just overkill. It's all overkill, guys. And then even on the Jolteon. Jolteon now drops into a 2-hit KO range. Earthquake, Sucker Punch, still enough to be a KO combo. So now we're getting into some weird survivals. We have Arcanine, 100 base special attack using primary stab move on that special. Looks like that 79 special defense kind of doing some wonders right now because very, very low chances to do a KO. Earthquake, well, that makes things really interesting, because if we're running Glare, we Glare the Arcanine, it's slower. Earthquake, dead. We're at like 1% health, but we did it. And then we can Sucker Punch the next thing coming in, or depending on status, the other flow of the game. There's Pokemon that are just slower than Arbok in general. If they're reduced to that, you can throw out the Arbok against it, and then still clean up some damage. Starmie. So the weird thing is, like the Adamant nature, alright, Crunch, Sucker Punch. That's going to be a KO combo, and then if we go into the Careful, Crunch into Sucker Punch is not going to be a KO combo. But it does give us that survivability on the Psychic. And then the Surf also kind of shows the same thing. So when we're looking at this Arcanine, yeah, let's pretend that's a super effective hit. Well, that's what happens with Starmie on the Psychic. And with that Psychic type Pokemon, it's like, alright, this is where the case for Crunch comes through. But what does that do to our moveset? Do we want that Glare? Because like the Glare, it's cool if Arbok goes down, but it's going to be the same result regardless. That we take a hit like a Flamethrower from Arcanine, drop to 50%, we hit it for 50%, we eat another Flamethrower, we survive, we KO on the Earthquake. It's the same results. The new Pokemon coming in, it's not going to be paralyzed, it's not going to be status, Arbok's at the same amount of hit points. So really the Glare is there if you want to kind of distribute status amongst the team, but in those 3 KO situations where Arbok ends up winning out, Glare doesn't do anything for you. So that's why I kind of said, hey, you could run the Crunch. And that's why Dragon Tail isn't just an option, because like depending on the Pokemon that you're going up against, it makes the games a bit more interesting. So now let's say like Starmie takes the minimum damage from the Sucker Punch, so it drops it down to 77 health, 57%. Crunch now has an 18% chance KO, but that's like low ends into something like that. So let's say we get an average hit on that 62. Now Starmie is going to be at 73% hit points. Crunch, well, that changes it to a 50% KO. Also kind of like riding off what's going on here. Very low chance of KO, which does change substantially, you know? Like, if we're an Adamant nature, Starmie has the same chance to KO us as we do to KO it, but then we're doing it with the priority, so that technically makes the matchup better for us with the Careful, and it gives us the matches like the Arcanine and some of the other Pokemon while not compromising on anything else, and then turns Jolteon, you know, into a more of a 3-hit KO Pokemon. So we're surviving at higher levels of hit points against other special attackers in these very strange cases. Also, if Stealth Rocks is up, then Arbok wins even with the Careful. Things to consider. Dugtrio. Also another weird case on a Careful nature, because Earthquake comes in and does solid damage. Now, here's also why the matchup is weird, because Dugtrio, 100 attack, stab, Earthquake, it just wipes us out. But maybe the opponent tries to do something weird, like they're anticipating a switch prediction into a flying type Pokemon, so they throw out the Rock Slide instead. if they leave that door open, you're going to be in a pretty nice situation. So Earthquake comes in, again, let's say it does minimum damage. 62 onto the Dugtrio. Dugtrio survives at 48 hit points. Well, that's a 50% chance for the Sucker Punch to KO. But if it does any more damage, so that's 67, that's going to drop us down to 43, and then Sucker Punch now becomes a guaranteed one-hit KO. So the numbers are really good for us, even without the Adamant Nature. Adamant Nature does give us the guarantee, but it also loses us a lot of weird matches. So that's why I'm saying, what do you want to do? Do you want that extra 10% damage on the stray Sucker Punch onto the Pokemon coming in? Do you want to kind of chip over time with that? Or do you just say, careful nature, survive some of the weird special sweepers that they might throw against you, and then just be a little healthier as you're still finding roughly the same KOs with a little bit compromised on the odds, and that's how you can kind of turn it. So that's Arbok, guys. Wacky Pokemon, converts a lot of 1-for-1s, the power of the Earthquake, the Poison Jab, decency, and then just as the battle gets on, you kind of throw it out there against weakened opponents. Arbok's going to take a lot of damage, but it will give you the KO. So guys, enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.